Hello guys. So, have you ever wondered what if every time you push your code, it automatically gets deployed to Salesforce, even without doing anything manually? So, no clicking, no login, no deployment commands. Just push your code and everything happens automatically. So, in this video, I am going to show you exactly how to set up automated deployment to Salesforce using GitHub. Before we start, quick note, in my previous video, I showed how to connect Salesforce with VS Code and push code to GitHub. So if you haven't watched that, please check the link in description. So here you can see these are all the steps we will follow to set up our automated deployment. Okay, so let's start. So now before we generate the auth URL, let's quickly recap the tools required for this setup. So you can see these are the list of tools which we need, and especially for those who are directly watching this video. Okay, so for this complete setup, we are using Visual Studio Code as our code editor, Git for version control, GitHub to store our code, and Salesforce CLI to connect and interact with Salesforce. And of course, we also need a Salesforce org where we will deploy our code. So now in my previous video, I have already shown how to install all these tools, connect Salesforce CLI with the org, and push the code to GitHub step by step. Okay, so as you can see, my VS Code is already connected to Salesforce. Okay, if you haven't done this setup yet, I highly recommend watching that video first. I will add the link in the description so you can watch it. Now moving ahead, since our org is already connected, we can generate a secure authentication URL using Salesforce CLI. So let's go back to the slide, and here our next step is generate the SFDX auth URL. First, so you can see first step is connect Salesforce org, which we already have. The second step is generate the SFDX auth URL. So you can see these are the commands we need to run to get the URL. Okay. First command, it will check like what org you have logged in into your VS Code. Okay. Let's go to the VS Code, and this is my VS Code. And you can see, let's run the first command, sf org list. Okay. So before this, I will tell you how to open it. This is my VS Code. I click on the terminal, click on new terminal. Okay. So here you will run your command sf org list. Okay, just giving a warning. So you can update your CLI as well if you want, but I will keep it as it is as of now. Okay, so you can see you have, this is username, we have org ID, we have a alias as well. So this is the information which we have. Okay. Now second command is sf org display dash dash target org, and this is like you have to give your alias name. Okay, here you can see my alias name is this. You might have different alias name of your org, you can use that, and dash dash verbose. So I already have this command in notepad, you can note down here and copy this and go to the VS Code and copy this command, Control V. Okay, and let's enter. Cool. So we got this output. You can see we have access token, we have alias, all these things, and this is the URL which we need. So this URL is very important because it will allow GitHub to connect to our Salesforce org securely without any manual login. Okay, so let's copy this URL, keep this in notepad. So now next step is store auth URL in GitHub secret. So so now you have seen we have generated this SFDX auth URL, And the next step is to store it securely in GitHub. Okay. And this is the most important step because GitHub Actions will use this URL to connect our Salesforce org during the deployment process. So let me go to my GitHub repository. I already logged in. Okay. So let me go to my GitHub repository and you can see this is my repository which I have created as part of previous video. After click of repository, we will go to setting, and in the setting we should have option secret and variables, and here you can see the actions, right? Click on this action and here click on this new repository secret. Okay, and in the name give SFDX underscore auth underscore URL, and in the secret just copy the URL which we have copied earlier, this URL. Okay, and paste it here. Add secret. So you can see we have added secret. This means whenever our workflow runs, so now our auth URL is securely stored in GitHub. Okay, this means whenever our workflow runs, it can use this secret to authenticate the Salesforce without exposing any credential in the code. Okay, so now that you have seen, we have securely stored the auth URL in the GitHub. Okay, and the next step is to create GitHub action workflow. Here you can see we have a next step is create GitHub action workflow. Okay, so actually this workflow we will create inside the VS code in the repository folder. Okay, so we will create here. And actually what this workflow does, this workflow will define what should happen automatically whenever we push code to GitHub. So whenever we push our code from here to GitHub, then what should happen? Okay, so this workflow will define all these steps. So here in that workflow, in that file, we will define all the steps because we want to deploy the code automatically. So we will define all the steps there. Okay, so inside our project, I will go to the root folder. So you can see this is our project. Okay, and all are these root folders. So we need to maintain this hierarchy. We already have these folders. So we will create github.github. So first root will be git.github, then workflow folder. Then we will create a deploy.yml file under this workflow. Okay, right click here and you can see new folder dot GIT. Okay, so dot GitHub, make sure spelling should be right and you should add the dot in the beginning. Okay, enter. So we have created this folder. Now select this folder and again right click, create a new folder. So it will create under this GitHub. Okay, the name is workflows. Inside this workflow we need to create, so let's create a new file. It's a deploy.yml. So let's go to the folder and click on this. So you can see the path. Click on this reveal in file explorer, GitHub workflow, and there's a deploy.yml. Okay, you can see this structure we have created. If you have some confusion here, like it's coming under this or not, then just check, right click on this GitHub and you can see reveal in file explorer. So wherever this project is, you can, it will open. Okay, so GitHub workflow and this deploy.yml. Okay, cool. So this is the exact location. Okay, this is the exact location or exact folder we can say where GitHub looks for automation workflow, right? Now in this deploy.yml file, we will define all the steps required for deployment. So in this, like we will specify when the workflow should run and what action should be performed, like fetching code, authenticating with Salesforce, and deploying the code. Hence, it's just like an instruction manual, which will guide GitHub to automate our deployment process to Salesforce. Okay. So now the next step is, you can see, define steps, check out, authenticate, and deploy. So we need to define the steps inside this file. You can see I have this, this is these steps I will define in the file. Okay. So think of this file as an instruction that we are giving to GitHub. So we can say like what to do automatically when code is pushed. So you can see these all are the instructions which we are going to give to GitHub. Okay, how GitHub will start and will push the code to Salesforce automatically. So first line, you can see this is just deploy to Salesforce. This is just a name we are giving, and this is just a name of our workflow. It will be visible in the GitHub Actions. So when you will see the Git, when you will go to the GitHub repository and you will click on the Action tab, it will be visible over there. Okay, and next is on push to main branch. So it is like we are giving the instruction when we push our code, what will happen. Okay, so this means whenever I push the code to main branch, this workflow will automatically trigger. Okay, so even when this need to be triggered, this is like we can say event. Okay, so when we push the code to branch, like we are pushing on our branch, right? You can see that is a SFDX project is our branch. So whenever we push this our code into the branch, then this workflow will trigger. Okay, and now we define a job called deploy. These are all the jobs. Okay, and then its name is deploy. Okay, and it means we are telling GitHub to run this on a virtual machine which is Ubuntu latest. So this is just like internal things which GitHub handle. So GitHub will run all these jobs on the Ubuntu, so we don't need to be worried about that. GitHub will handle all those things. Okay, now we'll come to the steps section. So you can see all these steps which we have defined, and this is where actual works start. Okay, so step one is checkout code. So these steps pull our repository code into the GitHub environment, and so it can use it. So it means like this is just our repository code into the GitHub environment. Step two, install Salesforce CLI. So we are giving an instruction to GitHub when GitHub will push the code to Salesforce. So how GitHub will push? So GitHub will use the Salesforce CLI commands, which you will see here, right? The all are the Salesforce CLI command. So you can run this command on your VS Code as well. Okay, so if GitHub wants to run these commands, then GitHub should have a Salesforce CLI installed. So whenever you will push our code, it will install Salesforce CLI and will run these commands. Okay, so here I am installing Salesforce CLI using npm so that we can run Salesforce commands. Okay, now comes the important part, which is authentication. So Salesforce CLI installed. Now it will authenticate to Salesforce. So you can see. So in this step, I am using the auth URL. This is auth URL. So you know like this URL which we have created through the command, and we stored in the GitHub secrets, right? So the same URL I'm using it here during authentication. Okay, and this is a like a CLI command which will trigger to authenticate with the Salesforce. Okay, and last is deploy to Salesforce. So after authentication, it will deploy to Salesforce. Okay, and this is a command to deploy to the Salesforce. These are the steps which we are going to give in the YAML file. Okay, so let's copy this. So no worry, I will provide these steps in the description as well. You can copy and use in your project. Okay, let's copy this and Control V, save it. Let's go to the GitHub once. This is my GitHub. Okay, so you can see the same URL which we have given the file. Okay, so now that we have created the deploy.yml file successfully, and the next step is now we need to push this file into GitHub. So you might notice that only this file is showing in the source control, and not the folders. Okay, so this is completely normal because Git tracks files, not empty folders. Okay, so once we push this file, the complete folder structure will be created automatically in the GitHub. Okay, so now let me commit and push the changes. So how we can commit? So first stage this file and give some message like any message during commit. Push deploy .yml file. Okay, then click on commit. Now click on this three dot and push these changes. So before push, I will tell you. So once we will push the code, we will go to the GitHub and there's the action. We will see the actions. Okay. So what will happen? Uh, Once it pushed, it will start to running these actions which we have defined in this file. Okay. So let's push the changes. Now let's go to GitHub. This is my GitHub. You can see this is my repository, and here we were in setting. Now what we will do, we will click on the actions. Okay. So here we can see workflow has been triggered automatically, right? And if I open this file, I can see all the steps running one by one. If I open this file, and here you can see we got some failure, right? So let's click on this deploy. This, it will show all the steps. It ran successfully, check out code successfully, install CLI successfully, authenticate to Salesforce successfully. Then where was the problem? Okay, so to resolve that error, what I found, like you can see we were using the old CLI to validate. So what I will do, I will install the new CLI. So you will use this command. You can see this is a command to install the new CLI. Okay, and I will also update this command. So earlier we have used that command, but now we will use this command uh, to authenticate with my alias. Okay, and also in the deployment I will use this command. It will also use my org alias, so it should not fail in the deployment. Okay, so it's very important that the same alias is used in both authentication and deployment step. Okay, so now with this setup, whenever I push the code, Git will automatically authenticate and deploy it to my Salesforce. So let's see. You can see I changed this command. Okay, and this one I already changed. So I will update this YML in the description as well. You can use. Okay, let me push this one. Update new CLI and commit and push. So once we push, action will run automatically. So let's go back to the Git, click on the actions. So you can see this is running now. Okay, just click on this, deploy. It will run all the steps, install CLI, and it has run. Okay, authenticate to Salesforce as well, successfully authorized. Now it is start to deploy. Okay, so great. It is started to deploy. Okay, now you can see it will take some time. We check all the things. Okay, so now it's deploying in the Salesforce. So it will deploy all the components. Okay, it says deployment failed. So we receive this error when it runs the deployment in the Salesforce. Okay, so once you fix these errors, you can reinitiate the deployment again. Okay, so let's see the error once in the Salesforce. When login in your org, deployments status. So you can see this one, the latest run, and it was, you can see, so it triggered the deployment here, and same error which we received here, we have the same error here as well. Okay, so once you fix those errors, you can re-trigger the deployment. So now next step is last step, which we can say on code push to the main branch. So let's see if we change any code, any file, and once we push that code into the branch, will our deployment trigger or not automatically? Okay, so let's see that. So let's go to the VS Code. Okay, so here we will open any file, like please open this account display file, apple hi, whatever, about anything, save it, come here, and if I stay and push it, display file, commit, push, it is pushed. So let's go back to the GitHub, click on the actions, see. So whenever any new file will be pushed, this will start to run. It will start all the process again. Setup job, checkout code, you can see it will done each and every time. Whenever you push your code, it started to run this deployment file. Okay, and it will deploy all the code automatically. So you know, these all the steps, you can see all the logs here. So you know, in the previous steps, our deployment was failed, so we will fix that. Then again we will push. Okay. Okay, so I think that is all in this video. And you can see we have successfully set up automated deployment from GitHub to Salesforce using GitHub Actions. Okay, these actions, and we connected our org, generate the auth URL, stored it securely in GitHub, and created a workflow that deploys code automatically whenever we push our changes. So in the next video, we will take this a step further and look at how to deploy only the changed component instead of full code base. So here, like, we are deploying full code base. That's why if any small error in any of the component, okay, then this deployment will fail. We will see how we can deploy the only changed component which we wanted to deploy only this component, but it triggered the full code deployment, right? I want to deploy only this component, right? We will see this in a next video, and also I will make another video to cover a secure approach using JWT based authentication for automated deployment. Okay, so if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.